Welcome everyone. In this session, we will go deeper in understanding what we have learned so far using a hypothetical example. For mutual understanding, let's call the lead character in this example as Kishan. Kishan was born in a family in a village in Maharashtra, India. His father was peon in the only school in his village. His father also used to farm a small piece of land. Kishan's mother was a homemaker who took care of Kishan and his 4 elder sisters. Kishan's family was self-sustaining. The farm was taking care of 50% of fresh groceries that were required to feed 7 family members. 2 cows and 1 buffalo were also the part of the family which was taking care of milk, yogurt, butter, ghee, which that family required. Taking the cattle in nearby forest land, milking them, cleaning the cow shed was happily done by Kishan's mother daily. And additional requirements like clothing, healthcare, study material, and the remaining 50% of the grocery requirement was taken care by Kishan's father, that is Dilip's monthly salary. Nothing was less, but nothing was left at the end of the year by year, every year. One fine day when Kishan was 8, his school had announced a picnic that he wanted to join, for which the per head contribution for the picnic was 150 rupees. That Kishan asked his parents to pay. His picnic was taking him to a city and he had never visited a city before. But his parents constantly refused to pay, saying if they allow Kishan alone to join the picnic, then all 4 sisters will also demand to join the same picnic as all 5 of them were studying in the same school where their father was working in. Father being a peon in the school, primary education for all 5 siblings was free. But when it comes to picnic, it was clear that paying 750 rupees and allowing 5 children to join the picnic was not possible for Kishan's parent at all. Kishan tried very hard to explain his parents that let him join this picnic and let his sister join the next, one after the another. Still, his parents continued to refuse, and then he started crying. He got angry, but nothing could change the parents' decision. He came out of his house, went to the cow shed, and continued crying, sitting next to the cow. After some time, he found that the cow he is sitting next to is licking his head, his face, his hands, and that very gesture from a cow calmed him down slowly. He stopped crying and sat there until he was called for dinner. He had his dinner and slept off, having no sign of disappointment that he had earlier. Now this had become Kishan's routine exercise. After every disappointment, he used to go and see the cow, get cuddle from the cow, cuddle the cow. Later sometime he used to go to the cow shed and used to see the cow because just seeing the cow made him happy. Kishan started helping his mother in cleaning the cow shed, milking the cows and buffaloes, making yogurt, butter and ghee out of the milk. And he started enjoying it. Sometimes when Kishan's mother Radha used to take cattle to a nearby forest for grazing, Kishan also started joining his mother regularly to the forest land, and then asking his mother to continue at home, and he used to take the cattle to the forest land alone. One day, while returning from the forest land, Kishan's leg was twisted badly, and he couldn't even walk. When it was getting dark, he started worrying about returning home along with the cattle. But the shooting pain in the leg was not allowing him to take even one step further. The only choice Kishan was left with was sitting on the back of the buffalo and go home before it was completely dark. And when he tried doing so, the buffalo also allowed him and started walking her usual way towards the cowshed. After arriving home, it took 7 more days for Kishan to walk on his own feet. But all these days, Kishan was thinking about his further schooling as he wanted to study further, unlike his 4 sisters who were willing to continue staying back home with their parents. The scenario was the school he was studying in was only until 7th standard, and anyone who is willing to study further had to leave the village and find another school in a taluka place, and hence he had to leave the home too. Parents respected his willingness to study further and facilitated him to stay with his maternal uncle who was from the taluka place, who allowed Kishan to stay with him as a relative until he completes his studies. The uncle, being in the milk product business, he had 80 cows. Even though he had a staff of 20 members to look after the cows, he was fed up because of the theft happening in the business, wherein the amount of milk produced and the money that should have been deposited did not match very frequently. Uncle, who was always traveling for his own milk product marketing, wanted someone trustworthy to look after the accounts, and that he could do but couldn't do because of his own bandwidth. And Kishan's maternal auntie, being busy in household things, could not look after the business either. As they had no choice, Uncle trained Kishan to help him look after the accounts and minimize the theft happening, if at least not stop. And Kishan started working in accounts, then in maintenance of the cowshed, then in operating processes that made milk products out of milk while he was studying. He had to do this because his parents were not in the position to pay anything extra for his accommodation and studies elsewhere. He was there until he completed his graduation in commerce. Immediately after graduation, he got a job in a private limited company located in a city. Uncle was so reluctant to leave Kishan for his new job that he was willing to match his salary that the private limited company had promised him to pay. But as city life always fascinated Kishan maintained his decision of relocating to the city and start a fresh life. From the first day of his job, he wondered why milk and the milk products are sold in such small packets and cost 5 times more than the rate of its manufactured cost. He not only wondered, but it pinched him to see cows sitting in the middle of the roads and no one is looking after them. He had joined the private limited company as an accountant. He knew how accounts work because of his degree and the experience his uncle gave him during his growing years. But after 2 years, he came to the decision that his job is not at all something that he enjoys doing. But he was confused because accounting at uncle's place was full of interest to him. But accounting in a private limited company does not interest him at all. It took 2 more years for him to find out that it is not accounting that he found interesting, but anything related to the cows and the buffaloes and the milk products interest him. And that includes accounting related to the milk products also. This eureka moment gave him courage to resign from the current job, return to the village and ask his maternal uncle if he can borrow some money and start his own business in a village and return the money with 10% of interest rate, as by now he was confident that this business is what he is born to do, and hence this business will surely grow. He bought a small piece of land, bought 5 cows, built a cow shed, asked one of his sisters to help him who was married in the same village, and others were married in different places than where he had started his business. Selling milk to his uncle and to the city helped him increase the number of cows to 15. 15 went to 35. 35 went to 50. Uncle was happy because without increasing the staff, buying new land for more cows, he was getting milk from trustworthy resource. And also he got the interest on the money he had lent to his nephew. In next couple of months, Kishan had an innovative idea called certified cow sheds. The idea included he visiting various cow sheds and allowing certified cow sheds only to add their daily milk production to his milk production, and the total quantity will be supplied to fulfill the needs of the city he was working in few years before. In couple of years time, Kishan's business grew well. Now Kishan's business grew so well in other cities of India that to cope up with the requirements, his aged uncle now not only had to turn his cow shed into certified cow shed and add his milk production to Kishan's milk production, but also became the managing director of Kishan's company on his request. People from Germany wanted to study Kishan's business model and replicate the same in their own country. His sisters, who were married in other villages, started their own certified cow sheds in their villages and added their contribution to his production. Also, his parents proudly looked after his business when he traveled across the country and across the globe for helping other companies to implement his business model for interview purpose or for giving sessions, seminars about his business model in other places. Kishan is a renowned name in milk and milk product industry, and Kishan is innovative enough to focus his attention to cow dung and make multiple products out of cow dung, respecting the vegan movement also. We all respect you, Kishan, for being Swayambhu. We all thank you, Kishan, for focusing upon the swadharma. Now I have 3 questions for you all. First is, what are the checkpoints mentioned in the last video in Kishan's life that we could find while reading his story? Second question, what is that we have learned so far in the Swayambhu series that gets reflected in this story? And the third question is, how do you think Kishan's life would have been if he would have continued in the same private limited company as an accountant? for the rest of his life? Think and let me know. I'm going to answer all these questions in upcoming videos. Stay connected. Thank you so much.